And it's kind of exactly what I feel I've been here for. And it's what Treasure Seekers, our social enterprise, has been set up for. And lost people come in all shapes and sizes. And we reach hundreds and hundreds, literally, of people each week through the social enterprise. And what we've discovered is we reach people that have learning disabilities, people that have mental health problems, disengaged young people, very disengaged young people. Sometimes we reach the elderly, and we reach out to all kinds of people's families. But people are just people at the end of the day. We've all got the same basic needs. We've all got the same basic needs. And we're going to look at some of those needs as we go along this morning. But I thought we'd look at what does it mean. The Bible talks about seeking and saving the lost. What does that mean? Well, I've been quite struck this last sort of couple of weeks following the story of those poor lads in the cave in Thailand. And there's 12, isn't there? 12 young lads and their coach, their football coach, and they've been lost in the cave 4 miles down in this cave, in this really dark place, and completely separated from the world. And that's really struck me because I thought there's so many parallels there between what we're doing at Treasure Seekers and what's happening. You look at that and you think, actually, it took them about 12 days, I think, to find where those boys are. So they had to seek them. And it took all that time. And then they found them. They thought, yeah, we know exactly what cave they're in. We know they're there. Job done. We're off. No, of course not. They then had to reach them. And, sometimes we can spend so much time trying to identify need, trying to locate it, trying to see where it is, and actually then not do very much about it. So the reaching people, what does that mean? Actually, reaching people means primarily entering into their world. It means going where they're at. Those boys need rescuing. They need people to go down to that spot and help them back up to the surface to get on solid ground. And that's going to involve all kinds of different things. And we'll look at some of those as we go along. The Bible says this. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but there's nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it's not accompanied by action, is dead. So oftentimes when we reach people, the first thing we need to do is look at their physical needs. Never mind the other stuff. And if you notice, the first thing those rescuers did with the boys was take down warm clothes, warm, like that sort of silver thing that they wrap around them. We've just got a slide I'd like to show you. If you could put it up, Kaylee, that would be great. And this is don't get too hung up on the words up there, we'll go through it, but this is by a psychologist called Maslow in the 60s. And he produced what we call Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what it's looking at is there are a whole lot of base needs, what he calls deficiency needs, that we need to meet with people before we can start actually meeting their other needs. And what that basically is if you look at that, that's like bringing somebody to solid ground. It's like what the boys need in that cave to bring them up to solid ground so they can start to actually grow and develop. So the first need is their physiological need. So that's a need for things like air and food and drink and sleep and warmth and exercise. And sometimes that's the best thing, no matter how needy people see, the best thing we can do for them is to cook them a meal. Take them around a cake. Cake is the answer to everything. Take them around a cake. Just do something really practical to meet that basic need. And then if you look up, the second need is a safety need. And that's a need for like shelter and for money and for security. So, we need to look at, has a person got somewhere decent to live? And that's some of the work that we do with other housing organisations and things at Treasure Seekers. So it's a basic need. And then we go up to the next need, which is love and belonging. And that's about acceptance and intimacy and relationships. Now, do you know what? This is a basic need in everybody. It's not nice, just a nice little extra if you love. It's your basic need. And it's as basic as the air that you breathe. In Genesis, right at the beginning of the Bible, God says, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make him a suitable helper. You've got to read this after the fact that in the 6 days before, God had created dry land, sun, moon, stars, sea creatures, birds and animals. And at the end of each of those days, so he created the sun, and at the end of that day, God said, I made the sun and it was good. I made dry land and it was good. Until he gets to man. Then he makes man, and God saw it was not good. And for the first time in creation, he saw something that wasn't good. And that was man being alone. It's not good. We're not made to be alone. We're made to be in community. We're made to be around people that love and accept us. There's a government survey that showed loneliness is as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Can you believe that? I do when I see people that are desperately lonely. It's not good. We see people coming in our doors. Somebody that came to one of our seniors, I could tell you so many stories. We could be here all day, but she came to our seniors group, and this lady had lost her husband a couple of years ago and could not bear to be on her own in the house. So she used her bus pass, and all day, she would ride on the buses, then go home. And that was it. Until she came to seniors. Now she goes to Tom Jones concerts, and I won't tell you what they do there. Anyway, we have quite a raucous senior citizen group. But the point is, can you imagine what that feels like? To be that alone. And it's not good. It's not good. And it's a basic human need, as much as the air that we breathe is. So we need to be able to build community. And it's what we do here, and it's what we do in Westgate, and all the things we do, actually. We build community because that's what we're designed for. That's what we're meant to be. And so the next thing, if you look at, is actually on the love and belonging. Let's just go back a little bit, because this is really important. I don't want to miss this out. Do you know, love and belonging means unconditional love and acceptance. And that is a real challenge sometimes, to unconditionally love somebody. It can be really hard. And that means loving without an agenda. It means loving despite what's coming back. But do you know, it's amazing the transformation that can happen when somebody feels and connects with that they are loved and accepted unconditionally. And that's really important, because the next part of it is an esteem need. Now, this is interesting because this is, again, a deficiency need. These are all things that really just get us on solid ground in life. And it's interesting that self-esteem is part of that. Self-esteem means things like achievement and recognition and respect and competence. And they're not things that are nice extras. They're basic needs. And they come out of primarily being unconditionally loved and accepted. The reason, as Christians, I can say for myself as a Christian, a lot of my self-worth only started to rise when I realised that Jesus had died for me on the cross, that actually I was worth that much, that somebody loved me to that kind of extent. And there's people that have never known what it's like to be loved, ever. They have no concept of it. And then we're expecting them to feel that, they can actually achieve something. They've got it's like trying to build on sand. These things are the basic building blocks for people. So here we are now. All those things here get us to the surface. They're just our basic building blocks. The problem is, those are the things that take time. They aren't obvious. They're not very sexy, are they? To put on a is that the right word? Probably not. Hey, whatever. On a form, they don't produce instant results always. And we're in a world where we want the quick fix, don't we? We don't want to do that. But without those needs met, we are not going to see people become the best versions of themselves, which is what we're all about, the Treasure Seekers. It's what we're all about here. We want people to be the people God created them to be. So as we go on from that, and we're not going to look too much at this, don't get hung up by the words, and that's not really what we're looking at today. We're looking at those base needs, because we're looking at reaching people. We're reaching the lost. We're getting them up to the surface. So the other needs, just quickly, if you're interested, are about knowing and understanding. So it's teaching people. Now, often, I can see so many courses that have come in. Right, we're going to do a course on this for this particular vulnerable person. Well, what good is that if they've got no self-esteem, no concept of self, they haven't got their basic needs met? It's a waste. But so that's on the next level of growth needs. And then there's the aesthetic needs. That's about beauty and order. But we're not say don't worry about these too much. But self-actualization is about fulfilling your personal potential. And then transcendence is about helping others connect with something outside themselves. So their personal potential. And actually, Maslow really recognizes the need for spiritual aspect to our lives. So here we are. We're on the surface. We're on solid ground is where we want to get to. If you look at those people in the caves, those lads that were in the cave, you look at what actually is happening to get them now to be rescued, to be saved. They're having their physical needs met. They're having their safety needs met. People they're talking about actually having to teach them how to learn to dive and swim and get up there. And that's going to take them knowing. Then they've got outside the camp, I don't know if you've seen it, but outside there's like a whole little city set up of people that are there cheering them on so they don't feel alone. They've got their parents and they've got people that are providing food and drink for the helpers and rescuers. They're feeling they've got messages going down there. They're feeling they've got that acceptance, and that's being met. And then the esteem needs, you see, then we can start looking at helping them, teach them to how they're going to get out, how they're going to do what they're going to do, how they're going to have the confidence for that. And then we get them to the surface. Now we can start really working on the trauma and everything that's happened when they were underground hidden. But there are people, and they're all around us, believe me, that are in some very dark places, that feel hidden away, that nobody noticed, nobody sees, and they need reaching. They desperately need reaching. They need somebody to go into their world. Our buildings in Westgate Street, our Treasure Seekers Hub and the Cavern, in Westgate Street, where we are, is in the top 5% of the most socially and economically deprived areas in the country. So we are, it is, seriously. I know we've got the cathedral, but outside of that road, You look at GL1, and that's where the figures are. So we know that there's need there. We've identified that, we've sorted it out, we know it. Now we need to be there, which is why our buildings are there. So we're putting ourselves there in order to be in that world, to actually reach into people's world. And that requires sacrifice. It requires an awful lot. And before we go on to that and to look at some of the, how are we doing for time? I guess I do get carried away because it's so exciting to be part of. I just want you to have a look at a video. Now, this video was produced by the Suicide Collaborative Society, which doesn't sound like it's going to be up for a lot of laughs, but it was produced because it's an example of good practice in the Southwest region, and so they came in with a proper film crew and everything and produced this video. It's on YouTube, so you can look it up afterwards and find it. So just take a look at this, and it gives you a framework for what I mean by saying we're in the Westgate now, so we're in the right place. Now we're looking at meeting some of those needs.
There is a place
where people who have concerns about their mental health
or in emotional distress
do not have to make an appointment.
They don't have to visit their GP, and
they're not put on a waiting list.
It's a non-medical alternative.
The care they receive takes a strain off
other services.
It frees up hospital spaces, takes pressure off the police force, and reduces strain on emergency services.
People don't have to attend a hospital site.
You can get a free cup of coffee.
Or other hot drink to their liking.
Support at the Cavern is community care in a coffee shop.
The Support the Cavern, community care in a coffee shop.
Support the Cavern is community care in a coffee shop.
It is as cost effective as it is innovative.
In a very short space of time,
The Cavern has become a beacon of hope
and a place of solace.
As well as a cool, credible and socially acceptable place to grab a coffee. Support at the Cavern is a very different mental health strategy that sits alongside other services.
From speaking to people who use the service, they describe it as a lifeline that complements and works alongside our existing mental health services.
Support at the Cavern does what many other mental health services can't. It has an open door policy that welcomes anybody who thinks that they might need help.
The Cavern holds a daily mental health drop-in service that attracts up to 400 visits a week. We help people feel less isolated, cope with anxiety and meet new people.
We provide this low-level support at a time of day where there is traditionally little early intervention or prevention work available from the statutory services.
The real value in the Cavern is how it complements our range of clinical services in terms of the emotional support, the social integration, the out-of-hours function for people. And there's more to life than just clinical treatment, and actually the Cavern provides that opportunity for people in the Gloucester area.
The Cavern works with more traditional forms of mental health support in a cost-effective and a successful way to help relieve pressure on already stretched departments. People are referred or signposted to the Cavern by mental health professionals or their GPs as part of their recovery programmes.
I heard of the Cavern from my doctor, and they recommended I should come here. But coming here is like a heaven.
We currently work with over 600 people, which reduces the amount of care they need from other services.
In the past, these people would have been calling crisis teams many times during the night.
And then recovery teams and GPs during the day.
For some individuals, we've seen a reduction in detentions under the Mental Health Act. This reduces distress for individuals and lessens pressure on social services, the police and hospitals.
I come to the Cavern because my life is in a mess. And lucky enough that speaking to you saved it, because I didn't have much left to give. And I had enough living. But coming here has changed my point of view.
We're open 365 days a year and can sit and talk through any problems or any struggles someone might have, no matter how big or small.
I try to come every night if I can. Sometimes I don't feel up to it. It's not very often, or if I'm upset, I don't want to come here. But I try to get here.
Support at the Cavern is commissioned by Gloucestershire CCG to work with anybody who is over 18 and lives in Gloucestershire.
The Cavern's made a noticeable difference in terms of what it provides for people who don't fit that traditional mental illness, learning disability framework. It fits with their lifestyle, it makes a difference to how they are, and that provides a very preventative role as well as an enabling role after people have had a significant episode of illness.
The environment at the Cavern has been designed by people with lived experience of mental health problems to meet their needs, but more important than the physical environment are the attitudes and values of the staff and volunteers who work alongside the people who use the service. One of the reasons the Clinical Commissioning Group and County Council are happy to support the work of the Cavern is that it complements the existing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week mental health service that we have available in Gloucestershire and provides a greater range of choice for those individuals who may need more than those services can offer.
The Cavern sets out to help people become the best versions of themselves.
Along the way, we find that we help people overcome many of the anxieties, worries, issues or barriers that people have and which ultimately contribute to mental unhealth.
Kingfisher Treasure Seekers exists because we believe there should be no barriers between a person and their potential. Everybody has something to contribute to their community and has a purpose and a place within it.
Kingfisher Treasure Seekers provides a range of courses to support the wellness of the people that we walk alongside.
From learning about building healthy and lasting relationships to confidence building, managing finances and parenting courses.
Because the Cavern is a part of the wider work of Kingfisher Treasure Seekers, we can provide a wraparound approach to supporting individuals.
We've seen many people come for mental health support who are now volunteering in the coffee shop, the gift shop and within other areas of Kingfisher Treasure Seekers.
Support at the Cavern is part of the whole framework of Kingfisher Treasure Seekers, which helps to develop social networks, activities, skill development, confidence, purpose and contribution to community life. In the time the service has been operating, we've had 48 instances of people declaring they would have killed themselves if it wasn't for the Cavern, and a further 101 instances of individuals saying they would have seriously considered suicide. People have told us that if it weren't for the Cavern, they would have been using drugs, using escorts, getting involved in criminal activity such as violence against another person. People have said that they would have been at A&E, they would have called the crisis teams, or that they would have been at home alone with worsening depression and worsening anxiety.
There is much more to people with a mental health problem than just a mental health condition. The social interaction, the positive role modelling, the accessibility and place to be of the Cavern makes a real difference to people.
The Cavern is great value for money and does great work.
The CCG are proud to be supporting the work of the Cavern.
It appreciates the contributions that everyone can make to the community and gives people skills and support when they need it most.
I've been coming to the Cavern for 2 years. It's the safest place I've come to. People out there call me names and everything else. But coming here is like a heaven. And one thing I know is that the only thing missing is angel wing.
I think the easiest way to describe the function of the Cavern is it's somewhere that the service users chose to go. You know, we support that and we signpost people to that, but it's their choice and it's that unconditional acceptance that makes a real difference to people.
The real value of the Cavern is bringing people together that would normally never meet. Yeah, meet people they wouldn't normally meet and kind of experience things they wouldn't normally experience with different types of people.
The real value of the Cavern is that it's a place of community where people can make friends and receive support through what they're going through.
People don't need to make an appointment and they don't need to go to the hospital.
Anyone can come and we would love to see you there. If you want more information about our organisation and the work that we do, then get in touch.
We make a real difference to people's lives.
This service makes a real difference to people's lives.
We help people become the best version of themselves. Please contact us if you would like more information about our organisation and about how our service works.
You can see why I'm just so passionate about what we do. Interestingly, did you see all those leaflets about the courses and activities and things that happen? Well, that's what I was saying about, meeting the deficiency needs first, so that then people can go on to the next lot of needs and actually the benefits from those courses and understand and be in a place where they can really grow as a result of that. So, okay, time's getting on, so I need to finish. But I just want to say a couple more things. Is that okay? So, what have I learnt from Kingfisher Treasure Seekers and being here? What have I learnt? What I've learnt is this. Transformation is possible. There are no lost causes. There aren't. You know, I've seen many services, many clinical people write people off, but that everybody has the capacity to change, and it's possible, and we see it all the time. So, and the other things I've learned, never underestimate the power of love. You know, love can break down the most hardest barriers in people. Keep your heart soft. You know, there's a great thing about, we need to keep a clinical distance. Who wants to be kept a clinical distance with if you're lonely? You want community, you want someone's heart. Now, we need to guard our hearts and we need to be able to make sure that, you know, we're having right support. But people need our hearts. They don't need our professional distance. And that's what Andy was saying on the thing, you know, that we provide what the clinical services can't provide. And so we want, you know, that's costly and it does come at a cost, but that's what they want. You know, I've got a psychology degree. That's not going to matter a jot to anybody that I'm, you know, working alongside or living alongside in the cabin, because they don't care about that. You know, people don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. So I just want to finish with this kind of poem that I think is really brilliant, and it's talking all about love in action, really. Faith without deeds is dead, and this is what it's talking. So I'm just going to finish with that. And it says this, it says, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely show the way. The eye's the better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel can be confusing, but examples always clear. And the best of preachers are the ones who demonstrate their creeds. To see good put in action is what everybody needs. I can soon learn to do it if you'll let me see it done. I can see your hands in actions, but your tongue too fast may run. And the lectures that you deliver may be very fine and true, but I'd rather get my lesson from observing what you do. For I may misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live.